This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
You know what, you guys, we live in the year of 2023 where it is the easiest time it's ever been to spend money. Especially if you are into a hobby or a profession like photography. Every couple of months or so, it seems like these companies are coming out with new lenses, new camera bodies, different attachments, different accessories. Now here's the thing, a lot of new photographers or even just people that have been shooting for a while, they tend to think that you need to upgrade your camera gear to improve your photography. But the truth is, folks, a lot of these cameras are incrementally better. And even if you go out and buy the newest and best gear, it's not going to improve your photography, which is why I kind of stopped buying the newest and greatest gear. Because I stopped spending money on gear, I've actually been able to put my money into other things that have greatly improved my photography, way better than any new camera body or a new lens would ever. And so today I kind of want to share that with you guys. I want to talk about some of the things I spend my money on to improve my photography, to have a better overall photography experience. But if you want to actually improve your photography skill, here is what I recommend you spend your money on instead. Number 1, travel. In my opinion, there is no better way to improving your photography skills and experiences by spending your money on travel. Instead of purchasing the newest and greatest gear, let me just spend my money on travel. So that 2 to 3K that initially I would have put into a brand new camera could be used towards, for example, a flight to Japan or a flight to Europe. And when you go to these newer places and you start to explore and make these photographs, because you're in a brand new location, you're gonna approach your photography with a whole completely different light, resulting in images that don't look like the classic images that you would take with a $3,000 camera in your backyard. Stop buying camera gear and invest that money rather into travel. The next thing that I spend my money on personally is education. And the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is there's ways to get education in a much more affordable way. Because I feel like education is often connected to an institution, or that's what I feel like most people think, it's unfortunately misleading them to think that they have to spend crazy amounts of money. When the truth is, there are so many different creators, photographers in your area, and I highly recommend just to look online to see what these people are offering, because there's something out there, a new skill that could be, you know, in your possession, in your arsenal, that could really be beneficial for your photography. And so the next thing that I personally would spend money on, honestly, is kind of like a cheaper alternative to education, but this is gonna be more of a self-guided education rather than purchasing some type of class or workshop. And so the next thing on this list are photo books, and I'm talking a lot of them. So in a time where I personally couldn't afford further education for photography, one thing I resorted to was learning from photo books. And photo books are meant to not really kind of teach you like step by step on how to make good photographs. Rather, the way I look at it is if you expose your eyes to good photography, and if you take the time to kind of study and dissect why each photograph works, you potentially could learn something along the way through the studying of these photo books. So I started out with 50 bucks, and one of the first books I ever purchased was The Americans by Robert Frank. I'd sit there for hours of the day, look through the book, study these images, you know, classic black and white Robert Frank photography. And from then on, I went down a rabbit hole. I started to purchase other photo books. So like this is Sal Leader, Early Color, you know, just different photographers, even zines. I think this is a really good one as well. Shout out to Polly B, by the way. And you know, you don't need to spend a ton of money. I actually got this book right here, Robert Doisneau, from like a discount bookstore, like Half Price Books is what it was called. But this leads me over into the next thing that I personally spend my money on. That's not only going to improve your photography, but overall will make you look more professional as a photographer. Now, the next thing that I choose to spend my money on is a photography website. And one of the best ways to get started with your own professional website is to use Squarespace. Squarespace is your all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Now, as a photographer, I do not know too much about coding and all of that online stuff. And so when I found out Squarespace allows you to create a website simply by just choosing a template to get started within minutes, setting up pages like a portfolio or even a gallery to show my street photography, and even have the option to upload an e-commerce shop, I was able to get my website up and running within a few hours. And for the last 4 to 5 years, I have used Squarespace every single month to create my website. Now, one of the newer features they have that I really enjoy is the videos page, because this allows you to pretty much upload video content, and this gives you the opportunity for potential clients to see some of your video work. If you wanted to get started with your own professional website today, head over to squarespace.com and enter promo code KingJapes at checkout, and you guys can get 10% off of your first purchase of a domain or a website. Huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. But when it comes to learning more about photography, improving your skill set, there are two other things that I really value that have helped me immensely with my own photography and helped train my eye to see better photographs. The first one, you guys, are movies. Okay, but on a real note, you guys, movies can be pretty inexpensive. I mean, if you have a service like Netflix, for example, or even something like Hulu, for a small fee every month, you can pretty much access a ton of movies. And I noticed the more I watch movies, the more I kind of learn about composition, because, you know, within these movies, they have something called like the director of photography. They're pretty much gonna be in charge of making sure that each and every scene is composed really well. And you get so much value out of just watching movies and seeing these guys who are literal professionals create and craft a scene for the video shooter, the videographers to shoot. This can really help you with your composition, to be able to see, you know, how to utilize leading lines effectively, how to utilize subframes, get new ideas for different types of compositions and photography that you can kind of play around with. And you know, you don't need to spend a ton of money by going to the movies. If you have, like I said, a streaming service that you like, watch more movies and, you know, your photography will blossom automatically just from seeing these amazing compositions. One way to nail your consumption of art is to visually go to galleries and museums. This is something that I have implemented into any of my travel plans. Anytime I visit a new city or even like a small town, I check to see on like Apple Maps if there are any galleries or exhibitions or museums that I could check out. The reason being for, again, art consumption. When you consume art, and you continuously let your eye kind of see good things, whether you like it or not, it's going to translate into your photography. And so I'll often go to different galleries. Like in San Francisco, there's SF MoMA. There are also a ton of, like, you know, solo shows, solo exhibitions. In New York, I went to the MoMA there last time I was there. In Chicago, we went to the Art Institute. You'll be surprised to find just how many galleries and exhibitions there are available for viewing. And if you can kind of do a little research to see what type of photographers are on show or are on display, especially if it's work from a photographer that you personally enjoy, you can get a ton of value from just consuming the pictures on the wall. So you know what? Consume more art. Let's make that a new hashtag, consume more art. Your photography will improve. This is one that I highly recommend you try. Okay, the last thing that I spend money on, honestly, I didn't want to include this one because it's very counterintuitive to what I was talking about in the beginning, but it focuses more so on developing a skill and kind of forcing you into learning how to utilize it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing that I spend my money on, or that I have spent my money on, is a brand new lens. And it's not like a particular lens or like the newest and greatest. What I'm talking about here, folks, is investing into a wide angle lens. And here's why. Just like everyone else, I think I started out shooting a 50mm lens. Then I told myself, you know what, in my camera, I wanted to go a little bit wider. So I had purchased a 35mm lens. Now what that meant was I had to be a little bit more careful and cautious with my compositions, because with a wider angle lens like a 35mm, there's more in the background to worry about. And so it forced me to really learn how to get up close and personal if I really wanted to isolate a subject. And it taught me about how to utilize my surroundings for compositions without having too many distracting elements within my frame. Then after shooting 35mm for about, I say 2 to 3 years, I wanted to go even wider. That's currently where I am right now. So right now I shoot with a 28mm lens on my Leica M6, and 28mm has taught me so much about just how busy backgrounds and environments can be in photography. If you think you have it all figured out with photography, shoot a 28mm lens for an entire year. Come back to this video and comment down below your experiences, because for me, I thought I had it all figured out with the 35mm. I jumped over to 28 and oh my goodness, it's like I restarted photography again. You guys, I've gotta be honest, as much as I am shooting with the 28 now, it's still a big struggle for me. I'm trying my best to learn how to get really close with the 28mm lens, to the point where it's almost like right up into your face. It's a lot harder to make much more clean looking images, and being so wide, you kind of get too much in your frame. Again, this is just my personal experience, but gosh, you guys, it's really forcing me to learn how to craft my images much more intentionally and develop that kind of subject and viewer rapport that a lot of great images already have. So it's not so much about buying a new lens that is the newest and greatest. No, it's really just about getting a lens that'll challenge you to help improve your photography. But that, my friends, is going to wrap it up for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys do to not only improve your photography, but what do you spend money on to improve your skill set. I'd like to know, because I know that there are probably 50 million more things out there we could have talked about in this video. But as of right now, that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys for tuning in to another King Gyps episode. Drop a like down below and also hit that subscribe button for more photography content. And that's gonna wrap it up. I'll see you all in the next one. As always, Minolta Gang.